Get it nice and tight, baby. What's going on, dudes and dudettes? So, yes, finally, the Lakers look like maybe this season coming up, maybe the following season, they might push it back, but looks like they are finally going to congratulate and retire Pau Gasol's number 16 jersey. Ever since he stopped playing for the Lakers, I don't think anybody has worn that jersey, but it's also a good thing because no one really has earned the right to wear that number jersey. And obviously, when they made that blockbuster trade, which at the time I wasn't that big of a, I was always a big Laker fan, but never really looked around the NBA at the other players and still knew how good they were. But obviously, it was like a top 3 overall pick for Memphis coming out of Spain, and was a very good player for them, very athletic at the time, and you know, he's was definitely had gotten a lot better since his rookie year. But everybody at the time thought that the Lakers won that deal like tremendously, and it was definitely unfair at the time. And I never knew. I just thought he could be a good, talented player, and I knew they gave up like Kwame Brown and a couple first-round picks and stuff for him. So overall, it was a very good get, and he ended up going to 3 straight finals with him. Almost, a couple other handful of playoff appearances as well. Should have been a three-peat, the second three-peat in my lifetime, but sadly, 2 of the Lakers starters were out for that whole NBA Final Series in 2008 against Boston. But yeah, overall, great career, great, awesome time he had with the Lakers. Definitely very proud of that time, and always made watching Lakers basketball exciting at that time. But he also had a great rapport with Kobe as well. They both like shared the same type of mindset on and off the court, and they could just read each other, and obviously speaking of different languages, or at times, it'd be a good thing against opponents, a good advantage. But overall, congrats on him whenever that does get done, and hopefully it does get done soon. Then yes, the Kyrie Irving deal to the Lakers, according to most experts and people around who have been in Las Vegas for the Summer League games, have pretty much said that the deal is done, but overall the Lakers are still offering, Westbrook, maybe another player and a first-round pick, but the Nets definitely want 2 first-round picks, and they're pretty much saying that's the only thing that's holding up the deal, is that the Lakers will not include a second future first-round pick. Obviously, for the type of headache Irving can be, I don't think it's a good enough deal. But if they include a player, another shooter like a Seth Curry or a Joe Harris from the Nets in that deal for the first round pick, I would not mind that at all. And they take back like a THT or Kendrick Nunn, something like that, to be able to match the money as well. I think it'd be really awesome for the Lakers, and it's definitely worth it to do the 2 first round picks in a deal for Kyrie Irving. But I'm gonna get into a couple mock drafts that I was able to get a couple days ago that were successful, and pretty big blockbuster trade I'll end this video off with. But yeah, look forward to that at the end of this video coming up. Then the USC quarterback transfer Caleb Williams, according to this article, he is the number 2 overall rated player that's playing this fall for college football, which is pretty crazy because he is only going into his sophomore year. And technically, if he was draft eligible, which he is not, he had to have at least 3 years in college, then he would be considered the number 1 or number 2 overall pick. And I know right now it's kind of a battle between the 2 other quarterbacks, Bryce Young from Alabama and CJ Stroud from Ohio State. But the fact that he is considered even higher than one of those guys who are really freaking good and are going to be really good pro prospects, in my opinion, I think makes it even better that he's on USC's team, and future's bright for USC. They may not win the title this year, obviously, but in his junior year, anything goes. It could be a really awesome team next fall, in my opinion. Then when it comes to Paolo Banchero from Duke and now of the Orlando Magic, apparently he's shown enough. They were 2-0 in the games he played, and obviously showed out. I think he had 17 that first game I talked about. Recently had 23 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. He went off once again, and they had like a sudden death double overtime game. Had a key block to save the game, because once you go into the second overtime, it's first score win. So he was able to get the block on the defensive side, and then threw an assist for the game-winning layup to his teammate as well. So they are loving what they're seeing, and we are too. Obviously, of the Duke fans, definitely very happy and very glad he's doing well so far, but they don't want anything bad to happen to him, a stupid injury like a lot of these other top first-round picks have been getting, even like the I think it was number 5, the Detroit. Jaden Ivey had an ankle thing the other day, which sucked, and a couple other guys have had a couple ankle things, so definitely get him out of there. You already know what he can do. A lot of these top guys are showing what they can do, so I think they should just shut them down already so they are, for the most part, healthy. You never know what can happen between now and the start of the regular season in October, but as of this second, they will be healthy and going into next year, so let's get that done for those young guys. But Banchero, yeah, he's definitely showing he's ready to go, and definitely very excited to actually finally see some Orlando Magic basketball this year. Be pretty crazy. Then Justin Herbert of the Chargers, the quarterback. Apparently, according to this article, he had the 8th highest selling jersey in the NFL, even beating out other guys like Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, who was drafted in his class as well. But Burrow is finally, I think he might get up past him pretty soon because he did make it to the Super Bowl. A lot more people are going to know about him and like him. But, you know, Chargers fans and a lot of probably fantasy football fans love Justin Herbert even more than I do. So they already bought his jersey. And, you know, overall it's a good thing. Maybe he might take a discount because he's already making so much money. Probably more off his jersey sales than his NFL contract. So hopefully that's the case. Then the 2023 USC commit, Grant Bucky, who committed the other week. I think he's like a H-back / tight end, something like that. Apparently he's already doing like some NIL stuff where you could sign up to either work out with him or he'll send you videos about working out or talk to you personally, even play video games with you, stuff like that. It's pretty crazy stuff, pretty awesome stuff that you're able to do, get a nice close and personal encounter with somebody, and it's pretty cool that he's still coming to USC. I think it's more solidified he's coming to USC if he's promoting the fact that he's doing the NIL deal and still wearing all his USC stuff. So that overall, that's pretty cool. Definitely excited about that. And yeah, sadly, USC has lost out on a couple of pretty big offensive line targets. Mentioned a couple videos back that Francis Maioga, I believe that's how you say his name, out of Florida, is making a big decision. He's a 5-star offensive lineman, decided to stay in state, go to Miami, which sucks, but USC striked out on that one. And then another guy, Lucas Simmons, I believe his name was. It's like a 4-star offensive lineman, I think offensive tackle, and he ended up going somewhere else. Yeah, so that sucked because those are pretty 2 high-profile guys that USC was trying to get on their future roster next year. But I know they're waiting on a top edge defensive player, most likely play the defensive end spot, and Braylon Shelby. I believe he's actually announcing tomorrow, July 13th, his official. I mean, mostly all these guys cannot sign officially till December or something like that. So technically there is time for USC to show, like, if they have a really good year and people know Caleb Williams and Malachi Nelson, a future 2023 quarterback, is coming, they could change the minds of a lot of these players because nothing is official yet. But overall, it's still a big-time waiting game, and to try to get anybody else, especially a guy like Braylon Edwards, who is a top defensive player, as of tomorrow, would be a pretty nice get for them for their future roster. And then even a guy who's another pretty good interior offensive lineman, and Micah Banuelos, he is announcing July 25th as well, and he's down to like 3 schools that include USC. So hopefully he does make the positive decision and come to USC. He looked like he definitely had a great time on his official visit. So hopefully that's the case where he ends up committing to USC. And then USC the other day had offered a 2024 linebacker from a local school out there in Irvine, I believe it is, in St. John Bosco. It was one of the powerhouse schools out here, kind of like a modern day. And his name was Jordan Lockhart. And I think he is a 3-star right now, but he has so many high-profile offers, Texas A&M, Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss. I think he's actually maybe committed to Ole Miss, but USC still offered him. And it's his dream school to come to USC, and he definitely was very excited when that offer did come through officially. And USC technically has 2 more seasons to try to get him to stay home instead of going out there to the SEC. But overall, I think it is a positive thing for them that they're offering these guys that, USC is a dream school and they're really talented players. You got to get those guys first over the flashy type of guys who are considered very highly rated and end up just coming to you before money reasons. But overall, I think it's pretty good. These 3 guys are pretty good gets if USC can get them. Then CBS did a NBA mock draft for next year in 2023, where they included 3 Duke Blue Devils in the first round. I think ESPN might have done this a month ago or so, but they had like these 3 Duke players going like in the top 5 or top 10 or top 6 or 7 overall. It's pretty crazy because we never saw them play, maybe 1 or 2 of those guys, but as of, a couple more games and people have been doing summer workouts, they finally have landed a little bit more where I thought they would. So Dariq Whitehead, one of the more talented players at Duke, coming up this year in the fall. He's supposedly going number 8 overall to Charlotte, which obviously has a good Duke pipeline as of this second, because they did draft Vernon Carey Jr. the other year, but they did trade him to Washington. But just this last NBA draft, they drafted Mark Williams, so it could be a nice get for them. They have 2 Duke players, even though it's run by the North Carolina great Michael Jordan, but he still knows which players to pick. And then Derek Lively, who was considered pretty much the best player going to Duke. I thought he was going to be a number 1 or 2 overall pick, but here they have him going number 12 overall to the Orlando Magic, obviously, who they traded for Wendell Carter Jr. from Duke, who was in Chicago, and then they drafted just number 1 overall Paolo Banchero from Duke. So a nice Duke pipeline going there as well in the Eastern Conference. And then Toronto at number 21, they end up going with Kyle Filipowski, who I don't know that much about, but he looks like a very good athletic type of dude. Kind of reminds me of Lauri Markkanen, maybe a little less athletic, but he could definitely shoot the 3 ball, has that height as well, 6'9" and 6'10", somewhat athletic, so it could be very interesting. But going to Toronto, not that bad. As of right now, they do have Gary Trent Jr., another ex-Duke player, but going to a team that could be in the playoffs around that pick, like a low 20s. It could be a playoff team, and that pick could also be traded to the Nets in the possible future if they end up getting Kevin Durant as well. So that could be a good place for him also. Then I think it was Fox Sports. Yeah, they put out a kind of weird thing where they said the first forward taken in the last couple NBA drafts out of college. And of course, they were all Duke and USC guys. So I'll go through them real quick. Last one, obviously, was Paolo Banchero. The year before was Evan Mobley from USC. Year before that, Zion Williamson. Year before, Marvin Bagley II out of Duke. Jason Tatum from Duke. Year before that, Brandon Ingram from Duke. Then even, I can now mention him, Stanley Johnson, who's from Arizona up there, but he is now a Los Angeles Lakers. So out of those like top 10 or whatever it was, I think we had like 7 or 8 of them. So it's pretty awesome. At least all my teams are, associated with my team. So it's pretty cool. Now to get into these Laker trades, yeah. This video is going a bit long, so I'm gonna end it with the other thing I had at the end and do a separate video because it's already at 14 minutes. Don't want you to watch it for that long. And to end this video off, yes, sadly, Matthew Berry, the only reason why I've been watching fantasy like podcasts and stuff, fantasy football podcasts on ESPN, is because of him, because he definitely knows a lot. He's one of the better fantasy football gurus out there. He joined ESPN, I think, like 15 years ago or so. Been there ever since I've been pretty much a sports fan, if not longer. And he's deciding to leave. It was amicable. It wasn't like, oh, you're fired, get out of here. He just had to make a decision and decided to move on. Don't know exactly where he is going. Most likely probably out here to the West Coast and working for Fox. It's pretty much the obvious thing of what he could do and start like a whole thing for them because they don't really have that much good programming. I don't really seek out their stuff. Maybe like the Herd, if Colin Cowherd talks about USC, but other than that, pretty much nothing of Fox. But yeah, overall, it's going to be missed. I think they are still going to do the show without him on ESPN, but it's still not going to be the same because he's a very funny dude. Always goes off on random stuff. Is a Howard Stern fan as well, so he's pretty crazy. But yeah, great advice he would give me sometimes, sometimes not for fantasy football. But overall, still going to be sorely missed, but I will still follow him, see where he goes, and try to get some info for him to try to win these fantasy football leagues every season. So yeah, thanks for watching, people. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Fight on.